Hello, my name is Harvey Dong, and I'll be your instructor for this class. Um, I've been teaching this class since 2002 at the UC Berkeley campus, and this will be the first time that it's offered online. So today, I'll talk a little bit about myself and also about the some of the goals for this class. Okay, so the title of the class is Issues in Contemporary Asian American Communities and Race Relations. Okay, um, myself, I've been interested in this issue ever since I was a student at UC Berkeley. I was an activist in the TWLF, Third World Liberation Front strike that actually helped establish the ethnic studies program here at UC Berkeley in 1969. And I was active in forming the first community course here at UC Berkeley campus. So I'm a pretty old dude, but not that old. When I was a student here, I took part in community projects such as tutorials in San Francisco, Chinatown. I did some volunteer work in terms of organizing garment workers in the sweatshops in San Francisco, Chinatown. And then later, I was involved in the housing movement. I did youth work. I helped establish the Asian Community Center in San Francisco Chinatown. There was a cooperative garment factory project that I also worked on. And in my recent years, I decided to um, go back to graduate school to write about the Asian American movement and its involvement in transforming the Asian American community. And also, currently, I'm involved in Eastwind Books of Berkeley, which is uh, very supportive of new and up and coming writers and poets. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the course now. From our syllabus description, Asian American communities and race relations. This is a multidisciplinary course that utilizes and integrates the disciplines of sociology, political science, and history to provide students with an understanding of contemporary Asian American community issues in the context of race relations. It will study the commonalities and differences between Asian Americans and other race and ethnic groups so that students will be able to develop an integrative analysis of race and ethnicity beyond common stereotypes. Introduced will be different social theories that explain the current status of Asian Americans, the interrelationship between the Asian American community, nation, and world. The class will have the opportunity to analyze the conditions for solidarity and difference between various ethnic and racial groups. Important here will be the question of agency, what individuals and groups have historically done to build a multiracial democracy. Asian American efforts for social and human rights activism will be analyzed in relation to the civil rights, Black Power, Native American, and Chicano movements for social justice. Subsequently, the course will look at the identity formations and solidarities across race and ethnic lines that meets the needs of the time. These culture making activities have been an integral part of developing and defining community. Students will be encouraged to become participant observers in these endeavors. By the end of the semester, class members will have the tools and grounding to become community analysts and problem solvers. So that's the several paragraph write-up in our syllabus about the content of the course and what's it about. Think about some of the key words in this paragraph description. Multidisciplinary, uh, race relations, analysis beyond stereotypes, social theories, the idea agency and resistance, referring back to history and legacy, becoming a participant observer in in terms of the research, and also being able to gather tools for problem solving. So think about some of these terms just reading through the syllabus paragraphs, those several paragraphs there. What would we want from the students? We would want your utmost attention and dedication, and this next section will be course requirements. The midterm will be 25% of your grade. There will be a part A, which will be a take-home essay, and part B, which will be in-class identification parts. Your final exam will be worth 25% of your grade. There will be a part A take-home essay and a part B in-class identifications. Your research paper will be worth 25% of your grade. You will be required to turn in first a topic, an outline, and bibliography, and secondly, the finished paper. Discussion section will be worth 25% of your grade. Included in your discussion section grade will be 4 short response papers, 4 field trip reports, 1 community comparison sketch, as well as attendance in lecture and discussion, presentations, group presentations, and of course your participation throughout the class. With regards to the 4 field trip write-up assignments, the field trips should come from an approved list of events, panels, and forums in the community or on campus to be arranged with your instructor or GSI. We would need a proof of attendance. Your role should be that of participant observer. Think of the audience response, what was the topic that was covered, what you got out of attending this event. You should enjoy yourself, and then do a write-up report of how all of this ties in with our class topic. With regards to your term paper report, you have your choice of an option A or an option B. Option A would include a 10-page issue-based term paper. It should be footnoted with at least 5 outside sources in addition to interviews and other materials. Make sure that you're selective in terms of choosing your sources, in that you analyze and problematize your sources. Option B is something different. It's a 6-page summary evaluation of work in a community-based organization. In your appendix, in addition to the 6-page summary evaluation of your work. Your appendix should also include a work log, which includes 8 community visits. Each visit should have a one-page write-up. Outside research is not required for option B. It mainly involves community work and reflecting on your work and, and evaluating your work in that organization. You can use course readings as far as the research for this option B. Students in previous classes who took option B did work with the Chinese Historical Society. They did work with the Chinese Progressive Association, the Filipino Community Center. There's a local Asian American student newspaper at UC Berkeley. They worked on the Hard-Boiled Asian American student community newspaper. Korean Community Center of the East Bay, Oakland Asian Education Services focused mainly on tutorial work. Manila Town Center in San Francisco, Filipino Academic Student Services, the REACH Recruitment and Retention Program, SASC, Southeast Asian Student Coalition, and the SPOT Youth Center in Oakland, Chinatown. If you choose option B, make sure that you contact these organizations or organizations of your choice, that you contact them early, and that there's enough activity for you to take part in, and to make sure that you have 8 community visits with these organizations, and then and then at the end you write some type of a summation of your work with these organizations. Another important group assignment is the community comparison sketch. In previous classes, students were assigned to carry out group visits to locations such as Little Saigon in San Francisco or San Jose, Koreatown, Chinatown, the Pacific East Mall in El Cerrito, and other locations. If you're an online student, visit a nearby Asian American community and collaborate online with your classmates. If not possible, because there is no Asian American community near you, you may conduct a virtual visit. Observe what defines it as a community with regards to location, history, institutions, culture, languages, and peoples. Compare your visited community with the community you grew up in, and reflect upon how the two communities are similar and or different in their makeup. Submit a 2-page single-space reflection paper and conduct and carry out a group presentation of your findings during discussion section. So that would be the community comparison sketch requirement of the class. In previous classes, this requirement helped people introduce each other, and it also provided students with a much more diverse view and perspective on what defines the Asian American community. This is an Asian American community issues class. By issues, we define them as phenomena where there exists tensions that require resolution. The issues discussed will have a particular focus on the theme of oppression, and in particular racial oppression, But we also want to address other forms of oppression, including class, gender, and sexuality. According to Paulo Freire, oppression is where one group prevents another from human fulfillment, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This may occur within many different locations: government, institutions, dominant ideas and ways of thinking, teachers, parents, and even peers. How does race tie into all of this? Racial oppression is when humans are placed in social categories that create hierarchical relationships of power in society. Resources then become prioritized in favor of one group over another. Racial oppression may take the form of discrimination, violence, erasure from history, media distortions and stereotypes, racial disparities in employment opportunities, promotions, housing access, school access. There are interconnections with other disparities and inequalities. We want to look into the causes for oppression, which can lie in structural, the institutions, the laws, the courts, the policies, in the idea systems, the ideology of a society, which is reflected in stereotypes that become dominant and oppressive. Dominant ideas lead to institutionalized racism and other forms of oppression. Before implementation into discriminatory legislations, policies, there is a gathering of mass opinion. Resistance. We want to look at solutions, namely resistance, whereby institutions and ideas are challenged. This happens with or without allies. Resistance is rare and reflects the fact that repeated abuses have not been addressed. Sometimes they go somewhere, other times they may not. We want to learn from both. Responses in terms of resistance have taken many different forms as a national group, as an ethnic group, around the issues related to class, race, gender, and sexual orientation. This is a contemporary issues class that is historically based. The class will cover the periods 1965 to the present, in other words, the civil rights period, the anti-colonial period. We want to study the new immigration, including immigrant and refugee migration from Asia in the post-65 period, and we want to be able to have this study complete our understanding of the pre-1965 period. In this class, we want to use history to comprehend the contemporary. It will look at current issues and use history to understand them. It's important to still connect to the past because America has a very unique racial past that has privileged whites over the colored minorities. Past stereotypes are still ingrained and come up in different forms over the question who is defined as an American. Even today, Americans have different summations of Japanese American internment. In the 1950s, there were McCarthy-era raids on Chinese family associations. In the 1990s, there were raids on the Chinese Cultural Association in Los Alamos during the time of the Wen-Ho Lee trials. Presently, we are witnessing deportations of Southeast Asian youth for crimes already served. W.E.B. Du Bois stated that the problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line. Today, we see an end to de jure discrimination, but racism still continues. The civil rights movement ended legal discrimination, supposedly providing equal access in terms of housing, employment, education access, voting rights. The civil rights movement jump-started the other rights movements as well, the disabled people's movement, the elderly rights movements. These gains have been eroded and are constantly being whittled away. The civil rights movement did not help end poverty. It did not end discrimination. Recent opinion polls on the existence of racism have different conclusions depending upon your race. Whites reported 13% of whites see a lot of discrimination against blacks. 43% of blacks see a lot of discrimination. Asian Americans, I've asked students to ask their parents whether or not they suffered from job discrimination. Surprisingly, very large numbers that pretty much fell in line with our studies that we'll be partaking in this class. Race and racism have taken contemporary forms, but the contemporary forms of racism are history derived. Racist ideologies can be conjured from the past during times of economic, political, or social crisis. The stereotype that Asians are all alike has affected Chinese American Vincent Chin, who was murdered in 1982 because some unemployed white auto workers thought that he was a Japanese taking away jobs when America was in competition with foreign Japanese auto. The stereotype that Asian loyalties are questionable affected Dr. Wen-Ho Lee in 1999. His case represented long-standing feelings that Asians are permanent aliens whose loyalties cannot be relied upon. Dr. Wen-Ho Lee was a Chinese-American scientist unjustly incarcerated for 9 months for being a spy solely on governmental allegations without factual justification. His Chinese ethnicity was often cited in government search warrants and newspaper articles. More recently, the charging and abrupt dropping of false economic espionage charges against Temple University physics professor Xiaoxing Xi is another example. After an FBI raid, detention, dropping of charges, his family has suffered severe financial burden for legal expenses as well as suffering from psychological trauma. No government explanation provided. We can only think about the context of it all, the context we are in today when the tensions between China and the U.S. And that during these tensions, no distinction is made between Chinese national and Chinese American. The model minority stereotype can transform into the yellow peril in no time. During times of crisis, unstable elements always seem to go after Asians. Asian Indian Balbir Singh Sodhi was murdered in 2001 because a racist white supremacist, Frank Roque, concluded Mr. Singh was a Middle Eastern terrorist. I stand for America all the way, stated Roque, after being arrested for the murder, plus 2 other attacks. Stereotypes can reinforce white supremacist hatred and lead to outright murder. Originally, the concept Asian American was a revolutionary one, which helped unite Asian Americans against institutionalized racism. In the pre 1960s, each Asian ethnic group fought on their own terms and tended to discount each other. They became susceptible to divide and conquer. With the formation of Asian American pan ethnic solidarity through organizations such as the Asian American Political Alliance, a new Asian American group solidarity was formed in conjunction with other third world peoples of color, black, brown, and Native Americans. Since then, the, the term Asian American has taken on different meanings, much more mainstream, dealing with voting blocks and federal funding for social services. So, one question this class will address is how much commonality there exists today among Asian American ethnic groups and how much is there separation. Is there a basis for solidarity among Asian Americans? And is there a basis for solidarity between Asian Americans and other peoples of color? It's always important to have goals when you take part in a study. So in terms of goals for this class, I have listed five. You might want to add more to this list. Um, but in terms of goals, I would say that one, to provide students with a background beyond uh, the stereotypes, to provide you with a background to better comprehend the history, the culture, and social relationships that form the fundamental issues of Asians in America today. Uh, Second goal, to provide students with a comparative analysis of the Asian American experience. Racism draws Asian Americans together, but Asians come from vastly different historical experiences. They have different immigration and refugee experiences, uh, different languages, cultures. This class will provide a comparative analysis of the different Asian ethnic groups. We want to be able to compare the different interactions with society and also um, with each other. Okay. Third, to provide students with a comprehensive analysis of the Asian American experience. There is no unitary explanation on issues affecting the community. The Asian American experiences involves a multifold of issues and experiences. For example, uh, there are stories that abound about Asian American success, the American dream. And there are also stories often hidden about uh, nightmares that Asian American immigrants face upon entering this country. Stories about urban poverty and racial oppression. Fourth, we want to be able to uh, compare and contrast various historical perspectives. We want to look at Asian American community issues with an eye towards theories that help us clarify. Theories, models, abstracts are realities and practices summed up. Theories on community structure, for example, theories on Asian American success in education, uh, theories on Asian American assimilation in comparison with other theories of non-assimilation. We want to be able to compare and contrast these different theories. And finally, if you remember anything. This fifth point is extremely important. We want to be able to learn to become community analysts, uh, community analysts, being able to break down the context and the inner contradictions in society. This is done through becoming aware of the issues. It's done through participation, um, and it's done through reflecting uh, from the past, looking into history, and then from there, changing the present. Okay, so we want to learn to become community analysts, being able to break down, to contextualize, and also to find solutions. So with regards to requirements for this class, we have the midterms, the 4 response papers, 4 field trips, a community sketch, a final exam, group presentations. More details will be uh, discussed in our sections. And reading materials, please make sure that you do your weekly readings. In conclusion, we have a big challenge ahead. The contents of the course itself, its online format, and most importantly, the relevance of the materials we want to cover. Myself and your GSIs are your facilitators. It's all up to yourselves to work together, to learn together. We have the advantage of having access to unique areas of online learning. Please make sure that each of you check in with me during office hours, in person or online. So you'll be graded based upon your passion and commitment to the subject. I would encourage you to see taking this class in order to gain lifelong tools in learning how to fight to improve conditions in the community. No sloppy work, no regurgitation of materials. Let's learn from the materials. Let's learn from this class together, critically. We need to go beyond the ivory tower. And I would also want to add beyond our computers at home and relate our studies to not just analyzing social problems, but to fighting for social justice.